Good evening. My name is Mr. Ingham, and I have a concern, and maybe it's already been addressed or can be addressed. In all my experiences in traveling, I've yet to see an airport that's complete. So while you're saying that the initial cost is X number of dollars, over a period of some 30 years or whatever, 35 years, whatever, there's going to be some other development that's going to be happening during the course of that time frame. Any new development after your initial contractor says that this is what it's costing, and the developer or whomever's running the airport then say, this is what my investment has grown to over the last 30 years, what would be the escape for the government in the event that they say, as they're turning the airport maybe back over, I'll be long gone, when they turn the airport back over to you, how much would it cost the government now to buy back whatever the expenditures were during the course of that 30 years? It would seem to me that there's going to be some development. And maybe you have an answer, because I'm saying that even the current airport that we have, it hasn't been 30 years since the last redevelopment there. So to give you some idea, whatever that cost was coming forward, there was some expense. So if that expense is incurred by the developer, and it comes back to them handing it back over to the government, are they just going to give it to you without those new costs being a consideration? That's my question.
Thank you, Delano. I have to say that the concession is a 35-year concession, and built into that, there is expectations that the facilities will be renovated over a period of time. So even if there is nothing else, when the concession is over in 35 years' time, we will not be getting an old airport. The concession anticipates that maintenance and renovation will have to take place over that 35-year period. I didn't spend much time on the actual physical layout. I kind of just said, that will be for another meeting, another town hall meeting. But there is allowance for an additional number of gates. So there's an allowance for growth. The plan calls for, I think, 9 gates, but there is allowance for additional gates built into the plan. But if we were to decide that we needed those extra gates, then a new contract would have to be negotiated as to how those would be financed. And one other thing is that part of the Department of Airport Operations are going to stay in the newest part of the existing facility. So not everything is moving over to the new airport terminal. But your point is that, if we have to, somebody gets a bright idea and we have to build something else, then that would be the subject of another set of negotiations, and we have to figure out how that's going to be paid for. But as we stand, if the facility continues for 35 years to be of the same, basically the same thing that what they're going to build, start building next year, then once the 35 years is up, the airport gets turned over to the government of Bermuda as is, because, brother, we will have already paid for it. So it's not, let's not get any notions that it ain't getting paid for. It is getting paid for, and it's getting paid for by us and people who come to Bermuda.
Good evening. I have a question. Would the causeway be included in the project?
Thank you. That's a good question. The causeway will not be included in this project. There's certainly a realization that we need to replace the causeway, which is the sort of implication of your question, because the causeway itself is part of the storm surge problem. The storm surge problem is a result of two things. Is a result of the actual location of the current facility. It's on the southern coast facing Castle Harbor. And the causeway is the other part of the problem, because as most storms drive water out of the southeast, they drive water into Castle Harbor, and the water cannot escape the way the causeway is built, and therefore it ends up flooding the airport. So, we're moving the airport, and that will solve some of the surge problem, but to solve the entire surge problem, a bridge needs to be built to replace the causeway. One day, hopefully, we'll be able to figure out how to pay for that. I haven't figured that out yet, and that's why we're just doing the airport at this point in time. But it has to be done.
Good evening. I have a few observations, if I can just ask each one of you. First of all, I don't really have a question of the finance minister, except to say that I actually thought your presentation was fantastic, and I think it's the right thing for Bermuda. So I just want to leave that there with you. I will get to the Premier last. Minister Cannonier, you talked about chemicals in the water. You alluded to chemicals in the water and watching out for our water supply in the future. There's one thing that I know some of you are aware of, because I do post it on the OBA page on Facebook. There's a lot of concern about pesticides. And glyphosate has been banned in many countries, and it's not been banned in Bermuda. Now, when you look historically, at one time, Bermuda used to allow DDT, and when that was banned, DDT goes into the water table, and some of that DDT is still there because it takes years and years and years to break down. We now allow glyphosate, which is, I understand from Farmer Tom Watson, the farmers are getting with the program on some of this stuff, but Works in Engineering are spraying. You see their little van going around, and they're spraying glyphosate, and they're spraying Roundup, and they're spraying some of the other stuff. So I think we really need to watch that, because with road runoff, the stuff that comes off the roads and the glyphosate going into our farmers' fields, we've got a problem. So I want to just bring that to your attention. The sewage, we know about, the sewage and the Bright Side situation. Obviously, hopefully that's going to get sorted out. You mentioned about the internet and about the cost of the internet and about offering. I think one of the things we really need to do is offer free internet to our visitors in our hotels. I mean, a lot of places you go to, you get the internet for free when you check into a hotel. Really irritates me when I go to a hotel, you have to pay for the internet. I think Bermuda hotels need to do that. The other thing is that in light of the fact that domains were put up, Bermuda domains were put up to $60. A .bm now is going up to $60. I did some research today that says the average cost of domains in other places are between $10 and $15. So we're 4 times more to register a Bermuda.bm domain, and I think that needs to be looked at. Why put that up? Trash, you mentioned trash, the beaches. One of the things that I find repeatedly on the beaches is the fact that Bermudians, and you talk about Bermudians dumping stuff in the walkways and the railway trails and so on and so forth. We've got glass problems on our beaches. And Bermudians go on the beaches, on public beaches, whether it be the Southlands, which has been really, the Southlands beach took a lot of abuse last summer, or the public side of Elba Beach, or Horseshoe Bay. People go there at night and do these bonfires. And they're throwing their Heineken bottles in the sand, and then it's getting raked over or whatever. We really need to look at stuff like that and come up with a policy. It would be a great job for summer students to police the beaches, or go and help inform people that you shouldn't be doing this, or maybe ban glass on the beach altogether. Okay, now that is Minister Cannonier.
Do you have a question?
I'm just, yes, well, all of it. I will say that inside all of this, there is, because by making these things known, what are we going to do, about glyphosates and pesticides, and hopefully that you will take that and also speak to the Minister Atherton about that. Minister Crockwell, on gaming, since somebody mentioned about the fact that PADI comes into effect on the 1st of April, tomorrow, who has applied for, can we find out who is applying for the gaming licenses? When can we know who's applying for the gaming licenses? I'd like you to address that. I'd also like you to have you considered a lottery for Bermuda? And have you considered internet gaming for Bermuda? Also, when you talk about hotels and entertainment, bringing back entertainment to Bermuda, we cannot have a successful entertainment industry if we do not. We're giving tax concessions to build hotels. Can we have tax concessions for the entertainment industry? Okay, I'll leave it there because I know other people want questions. Thank you.
I'm waiting for the answers.
Yeah, thank you, Tony. I will answer the gaming questions. No one has applied. Applications cannot be made until the Gaming Commission is actually fully up and running and functional. I have 2 more appointments to make to the Commission. They have to get trained. So once they are in a position to accept applications, then an RFP process will be put out and individuals can apply. So no one has put in any applications. There have been individuals who have made their intentions known, but no applications has been submitted.
I'm going to go here first.
And in terms of lottery and internet gaming, those are items that I think the Commission's going to look at as well, but at this time the government is not proceeding with either.